that there is such groups like this and all these different things. I probably have done this a year or two before this, at least, and not caused a lot of the harm to myself and to others I have caused.
Am I going to be addressed the way I want to be? Are they going to use the correct pronouns and stuff? And then obviously getting into rehab, it was fine. I did have an alright experience, but they had absolutely no knowledge of me being transgender, even like LGBTQ bloody trained. I was asked if I wanted to, well, they asked if I should be in the male section rather than the female section, if I wanted a male to do my urine, drug tests and all that. And I don't know, I'm quite mentally strong, but I know if there was someone that wasn't that strong, that would take them right out the door. And it did make me feel uncomfortable, but no one's making me go anywhere, do you know what I mean? I really wanted this. And from obviously having a transgender patient in there, they brought in loads of training off their own back. They did do all of that, and that's Phoenix Futures, a brilliant service. And it's just the fact that they took on that extra training just so they could learn a bit more about me. But I don't think it's like advertised enough to the LGBT community, and like we spoke about, the fear of judgment and stuff. And obviously I have been in rehab and there was a few gay men in there who didn't really have good experiences through judgment and stuff. So something needs to change. So if they like, it'd be great if we could have our own LGBT rehab just specifically for that community, but come on.
See the amount of gay men, not just gay men, trans people as well and everything, but mainly gay men that I know of that have come back to me and said to me, I discharged myself. And I'm like, why? And I'm like, because I felt so uncomfortable, because when they found out I was gay, I was bullied. And I couldn't stay in a place like that, and they didn't want to go and speak to the staff, to tell the staff, because if it ended up they were worried that there'd be more bullying, so they just signed themselves out. And one of them actually went out for his walk, went and bought a drink deliberately to get moved out because he was worried about the bullying inside.
It got to the point where it was do or die for me when it came to trying to get off of alcohol and everything else. And even when I first went to my first meeting for addiction recovery, I went under my old name and dressed down, being like, it's going to be easier, I don't have to explain all of this. I ended up about 5 minutes into the meeting going, oh God, I can't do this. And now my addiction officer is the one that's is asking me all these very probing questions because he has no knowledge of this. I'm having to educate him when I'm meant to be the one that's getting the help in the system and all that.
If you're unable or not allowed to connect with yourself, then you haven't got a very good starting point. And I think as well, kind of going back to the funding side of putting money back into training, awareness, and it's about equity of service, it's not about equality. We can't treat everybody, we want everybody to get the same level of service, but not everybody can get the same service. So it's really important that I think equity is a big thing for me, purely from that perspective, that everybody has to get the same level of service, regardless of who they are, what they look like, how they dress, what their pronouns are. And I think we are seeing strides in Glasgow. This is a service that has not existed. It does not exist anywhere else, purely from the perspective that we are not solely recovery focused, we are not abstinence based. We offer a sober, queer alternative which has peer support and recovery support within it. It's something that when we launched in February, that people said, where has this been? Why is it taking so long to come? And I think it's about ploughing forward. We have very good partners that we work quite closely with, but we're a long way from where we need to be. And that is where we're offering LGBT specific rehab places. And funded places and places that are available, and not where people have to jump through hoops. And I think that's a big thing as well. If we're talking about putting money back into the system, if you like, we need to make it much easier to access.
It took me attempting to take my own life and get involved in mental health crisis teams and far too many different organisations of mental health and that sort of thing to even be recommended and pushed in the direction of somewhere like GCA, which I wasn't aware existed. And then I come along here, and I was scared even coming here my first time.
Yeah.
And then luckily the person I see is amazing. And then my second session told me about this group existing, and I was like, oh God, I need to go immediately. But if there has been some sort of, obviously you don't want it to be fully open out there, but if there's some sort of funding behind being able to publicise it, say at like a Pride or like some sort of queer event, that sort of thing, because it is a major problem in these sort of communities. It's a kind of unspoken about problem. So I think that would really help.
We're seeing short-term funding, 1, 2, 3. We need to be looking longer term. And also, we're never going to get rid of alcohol. It's always going to be sold. So if there is a way that if we have some kind of levy, that can be then, I suppose, almost cyclical, that it's going back in. And I think it should be done without any thought. Just so that we are funding services for longer term. There's uncertainty. We have waiting lists. Waiting lists can only get bigger because we don't have the long-term funding for staffing. And as well, it also kind of has the knock-on effect of staff changing, staff shortages, people being moved from worker to worker. There's no kind of continuity with people's care. So I think we need to look at the longer term and how we support people in whatever the recovery journey looks like.